Chapter 9. We interrupt this broadcast to bring you James' POV. I'm not sure I'll be able to take it much longer, he sighed, watching the barest hint of annoyance travel across Regulus's face. I told you that we'd be caught in a lie. I just think he'd be okay with it if we sat him down and told him that we were... The last time I saw my brother, I called him a fag and told him I hoped he rotted in hell for sodomizing himself. I can't just show up and say, "Oh, hi, remember me? I'm letting James shove his cock up my ass now." He tried. He really did. But he couldn't hold in his little laugh at the boy's exclamation. Always a dramatic one, there, Reggie. But... No buts! Reg... James tugged him so he was between his spread legs, stroking gentle thumbs over the sharp cheekbones and thumbing the shadows under his eyes. You left them too. You realized the same thing Sirius did. A little bit later than him, sure, but you did. You're a good person, and whatever we are, or turn out to be, he'll come around. Regulus pressed a kiss to that hand cupping his cheek and mumbled, "How are you so sure of yourself?" You're the only thing he considered staying for. He pulled the smaller man to his chest, pressing against the other's neck until Regulus submitted and lay it in the crook of his. He'll be dramatic at first, but after that, hours or days or weeks after, he'll be so happy to have you. Who wouldn't be? Sap. James hummed at the teasing tone, glad for it, as he was not used to Regulus being so raw, emotionally. It had been 6 weeks since James had, quite literally, run into Regulus while he was at the market assessing seasonal produce for Atelier, and he'd nearly fallen over at the sight of the thin boy smiling hesitantly at him. He looked different to how he had at school, that haughty assurance gone, although it had been fast to return, let him tell you. Since then, he'd seen the dodgy little flat Regulus called home, and cooked him several nutritious meals there. He'd been given explanation after explanation on how Reg had managed to escape from under the Black family thumb, how he'd found himself in Manchester after the final year of his degree. He'd found as many things to like about Regulus as he had found in Sirius. It was complicated, their situation, but Regulus and Lily were both aware of the circumstances, and for now, at least, happy with them. When he was younger, his mother had warned him of how fast potters fell in love, how wearing your heart on your sleeve often left you vulnerable to injury. And still, he could see it happening in front of his very eyes, feel the way his pulse jumped when Regulus awarded him with a rare smile, when he gasped and writhed beneath him, moaning his name. After they'd come together in his bed, sweaty and sated, and exchanging teasing words and sweet kisses. That version of Regulus, the Regulus that only he is allowed to see, he has 2/3 of the way there already. He'd assumed it would be Lily, with her vibrant red hair and beautiful freckled skin, that attitude that brought him willingly to his knees. That first night, when she'd asked him what he liked and then led him up the stairs to her room in the club, it was like an epiphany. Nothing could have prepared him for the way she negotiated and renegotiated a scene, how she'd broken him open and pieced him back together for fun, and then the next day seemed so casual about it. In his mind, he'd idolized Lily Evans. After months of seeing her in Atelier before he was her employee, he had an image of what she would be like, and in reality, it was everything and nothing like it. He couldn't blame her when she'd explained to him that romantic relationships were just not something she'd ever had any interest in. She was happy to tie him up and hit him just the way he liked, to ride his cock until she'd had her fill, and then send him on his way the next day. More than happy for him to see others, romantically and physically, so long as he was safe and didn't put her in danger. She was mean. So was Regulus. Just the right sort of mean for James. But Regulus, with his dark hair, sharp bones, and sharper personality, he blew James away. Which was why he'd agreed at first to hide this tryst from Sirius, before he knew it was really going somewhere. And now he was trapped between his best friend in the world and his best friend's brother. Acting suspicious, something he'd never gotten away with for long. They'd been caught out once already, and he knew that now Sirius had some of the information he'd been searching for more every second he could spare to it. Thanks to Remus, that was less time than normal, and James could not be more thankful for his occupation. It was important that Regulus was ready to tell him before he knew, but by God did he hope that would be sooner rather than later. "Would you like to come over to mine this weekend?" he asked carefully, eager to get the smell of damp out of his nose and be in a familiar kitchen to cook for Reg, to show him their flat and demonstrate just how well he could do taking care of someone, and then let Regulus take him apart. The boy frowned at him, forehead creasing and lips twisting. "You don't want me to come to the place where you live with my brother." "Hear me out." James licked his lips and met Regulus's eyes bravely. "He and Remus have this big date planned on Sunday, and they always go to Remus's. I can't really blame him. From what I've heard, the man has a massive—" "James!" Regulus cut him off with a laugh. "Flat! I was going to say flat! Geez, Reg." Regulus tilted his head from side to side and leaned in for a bruising kiss, then quietly said, "I'll consider it." "Thank you, love." James hummed and went back for more, sucking at Regulus's full lower lip until hands were making indents in his thighs, and Regulus was pulling back to reprimand him for his greed.